This episode is proudly supported by Fine Food Australia. It's only a few weeks until Fine Food Australia, the country's leading trade event for food service and hospitality, is back on in Sydney. As a professional in the food industry, you know the importance of staying ahead, discovering new trends, connecting with suppliers, and finding the inspiration to move your business forward. For over 40 years, Fine Food Australia has been the ultimate destination for chefs, restaurateurs, cafe owners, food retailers, and distributors alike. With over 900 exhibitors across 12 product categories, featuring both local and global brands, Fine Food Australia is where you'll find what's next, what's new, and what's driving the food industry forward. Make sure you register online before the 8th of September to secure free trade entry, so you don't have to pay $45 at the door. Don't miss Fine Food Australia on from the 8th to the 11th of September at ICC Sydney Darling Harbour. For more information, go to www.finefoodaustralia.com.au.
You know, I've never ever wanted to do anything else. I'd never know how to do anything else. And this is the only thing I've ever been really good at. And, you know, I think we're going to make a lot of people really, really happy in this space. And that's, you know, that's the most beautiful thing.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. It's been 4 years since we caught up with Tom Sarafian, who took us on a wild and colourful journey through his family's culinary history and his incredible career as well. Now, he's opened a very special project, and it's amazing to catch up with him again and get him back on the show. Tom, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Huck. Thanks for having me back. After all this time, it's great to catch up. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm good. I can't believe it. We were just talking off air before we started that it's been 4 years, and that's wild to me. It feels like just yesterday that we had a chat, but it's the nature of the times we're in, I guess. But you are on the cusp of opening something very special.
Yeah, we're actually opening tomorrow. So things are going pretty fast. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. You know, we've been in this space more or less for about 6 months since the beginning of the year. But it took quite a long time to get, you know, the build complete, to get things finalized. It was extremely challenging, to say the least. And then the last 2 weeks, we got the handover from the builders, and you know, we just got our full team in here, and we've just been quickly hustling to, you know, get everything ready for our opening night tomorrow night. So it's been a mad rush right at the very end after 6 months of planning and building and designing. We've been extremely hands-on with the whole process. So yeah, it's this kind of weird, surreal feeling of just looking at renders and, blueprints and all that kind of stuff. And then just a, really, really quick turnaround to race to the finish line, I guess. And extremely surreal to see things that you've had in your head, design style wise in the kitchen and everything like that, just so quickly at the last minute sort of all come together. But I've never experienced anything like that, and it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It's I remember a lot of media reports saying that you're going to open in March, and all restaurants have sort of hurdles at the last minute and delays and things like that. What's some of the biggest issues that you faced sort of trying to create and build your own restaurant?
Yeah, it was pinned for March. We were, pretty ambitious with that, but we really thought, that we realistically could turn it around so quickly. We learned some pretty hard lessons pretty quickly that we couldn't. We had, some issues with some builders that we had to pretty much get rid of, and they were definitely not the right people that we wanted to bring our dream, that everything we put on our, on the line. Sinead, my partner, and I, we really put everything we had into this, and we got some pretty big red flags. So we decided just to start again with some new builders who turned out to be absolutely fantastic. So we're now friends. We've had them in on our soft opening on the weekend. And we just feel so happy and grateful that we found the right people. And it was definitely worth, making some hard decisions and delaying the restaurant because now we're sitting in it, getting ready to open tomorrow night, and it feels so fantastic, and we're so proud of this place. So yeah, it was a big delay, but it was definitely worth it. I've had these moments where I've thought what the space could have looked like if we'd, rushed and stuck with a bad decision. And it's a scary thought. So yeah, and it's been confirmed, we've had, a little over 100 people or so in here over 2 nights. And the best thing that people have said repeatedly is that it feels warm and welcoming and like it's been here for a long time. And that was like the top line brief for the design, for the build, for the feeling, the hospitality that we want to serve here. And the place really does feel like that. So yeah, it's starting to really feel like home.
Tell us a bit about the beginnings of the concept and finding the right location. Was it tricky for you to find the right location for what you wanted to build?
Yeah. Oh man, I can't tell you how many almost there were, and carbon lights, and it's taking, I guess you could say probably almost, as long as it's taken us to catch up again. The homeless and everything that we launched 4 years ago when we did catch up last, that kept me, pretty nice and busy. And then I started doing a lot of pop-ups, and residencies and things, because I really wanted to keep my foot in the door of being a chef and cooking, food in restaurants as well. I never wanted to lose track of that. And then that sort of, led into me always keeping my eye on the prize, always to open my own restaurant and, cooking in other friends' restaurants and sort of, helping to decide exactly what kind of restaurant I wanted to open, what kind of space I wanted to have, what size and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it was really great, but, it was, I guess 4 years of cooking in hundreds and hundreds of restaurants, it feels like, helped me decide what I wanted. And then when I started looking and talking to people, like restaurateurs and investors and some groups and people like that, there was so many like almost and big deals on the table. And, I had my hopes up a lot of times, and then, it all sort of fell apart sometimes at the last minute. And that was really, really difficult to keep, my head up and keep going. I started getting pretty burnt out from that process. And, there was sometimes when we even announced in the media that we were, opening restaurants, and it didn't work out. I was feeling pretty burnt out and drained from all of that, but I kept going, never lost, track of what I really wanted to do. And I think it was all, everything always happens for a reason, and it's fine, because now I think, I've had this realization that I really needed to do it myself, with my friends and family and the support of everyone around me. But it's just such a personal project. Like, I've named the restaurant after my grandfather, who was a chef who, brought my family here from Egypt in the 60s and became a chef when he came to Melbourne. And my father jumped into a kitchen out of high school and became a chef working alongside him. And then, that just influenced our whole family in food. It's everything about this project is so personal that, I feel really lucky, even though that process was long and hard, that we went through to find this space. I feel very, very grateful and lucky that it worked out that way, as painful as it was, because it's too personal to have anybody else, calling the shots or anything like that. I guess like this is just us. It's me and Janine doing what we do, and yeah, that's, I guess, the way it needs to be.
Tell us a little bit about Zareh, the restaurant, and sort of the feeling and the offering, what you kind of landed on after all of those years of research.
Yeah, I think it's almost like this original concept that I had like when I was a young chef, just working in like other people's restaurants, cooking other people's foods. Was, I always wanted to be small and intimate and really, really open. The kitchen, we've got this beautiful wood-fired oven and charcoal barbecue, which are two things that are just more important than salt. I say to me about cooking, this kind of food that we cook, it's so important to have the flavors of wood and smoke and fire there. And that's really in the heart of the space. You walk in, it's right there. There's an open bar. There's a big vine of chefs cooking, and you sit opposite them. They cook and they hand you food and talk off your drinks and talk to you and engage. You can watch them cook and ask them questions, everything like that. It's fun, exciting, engaging. We've got a big open, small actually, it's only 40 seats. Dining room. We've got an amazing acoustics and sound system, which are things that are really important to me. It's on Smith Street, which is my absolute favorite street in Melbourne. It's just so awesome. It's just like there's always, such a great energy here, and just so many different types of people. The foot traffic are on the sunny side of Smith Street, on like the north end, which has always been sort of the dead end, where we used to come as kids to buy cheap bikes from the factory outlets, and that's kind of all you came to was out of Smith Street for. But it's really changing around here, like in a good way. There's like people are turning down this side of the street now. There's some other cool businesses opening, and there's a lot of development going on. And it's it's an interesting one because it's such a big, busy street, but only this section is really starting to really come to light lately, in that sort of way, I guess. There's beautiful natural light coming in, and I guess that was always kind of my concept, being influenced from a few places that I loved, like Izakaya Den was always one of my favorite restaurants in Melbourne. To add that I closed last year, but I probably visited there more than any other restaurant. I love that design. When you walk in, it's just all open and you see all the chefs cooking and handing over food to the guests. So that definitely influenced it. It's my friend's restaurant, Al from Sunny in Hobart. Just the atmosphere that place has. And, I was lucky to cook there a few times and kind of take over the kitchen a little bit for a month, a couple of years ago. And I fell in love with just that kind of like exciting hospitality, and the music. And I always wanted to sort of inject that kind of vision into the kind of food that we cook, Armenian, Lebanese, Arab food, and serve that kind of food in a setting like this that's so vibrant and exciting, and still has that beautiful, authentic soul and warmth, and just humble hospitality that you feel like you're welcoming your guests into your house for dinner. But also is quite exciting and fun. And I think we've really accomplished that here because, just over the weekend with our soft openings, everyone seems to be really appreciating and saying that, that's how it feels. Yeah.
Mm. Tell us a bit about the food and sort of the journey that you've gone on to sort of land on, the menu and the direction that you're taking with the restaurant.
Yeah, we're starting off with a set menu, and we're really for the first 3 weeks we're really just easing in. We're only open for 4 nights a week to begin with. We're just getting used to the space, like because I said we've been planning for a long time. We've only been here for kind of 2 weeks, and we've only just started cooking in the last week or so. I think because I've been so hands-on with the design process and all the other parts, like the wine lists and the music and just every single detail. I really wanted to be across every one of them. I kind of, are now starting to really focus on the menu and the food, but we're just starting to test the kitchen out to see what we should do in the space. And, I guess part of that is like the last few years have been really, really tough and feeling, burnt out and finding it hard to find inspiration to come up with new, dishes and new menus. It's been really tough, but like being in this space has really, really inspired me so much now, and I just feel so excited. I've got like my dream kitchen. I've always cooked in some pretty awesome restaurants, but I've never worked somewhere with a kitchen like so well designed, and that was a big part of this process, was like working with kitchen designers and making sure that everything was laid out so beautifully because it's so open. I want the chefs to feel really comfortable and not under sort of stress when they're cooking. Like everything's so efficiently, spaced out. So basically we've got everything we need here, and we just, I've got now like so many ideas to put on the menu, but we're just kind of taking it easy and, not doing too many of them at once. So we're doing a set menu, and I've decided to cook some of the dishes that I consider we kind of perfected when we reached the pinnacle of Bar Saracen. And I was never like ready to stop cooking those dishes. So we've put a lot of those ones on the menu, and they're kind of like the favorites, and people call them like kind of signatures or hits or whatever. And I've cooked them from time to time in pop-ups because, they're ones that I know like the back of my hand, that we have tested, like 10 grams less of this, 13 grams more of that, and all this kind of stuff, like to the point where they're just like, I'm pretty perfectionist, OCD with that kind of stuff. But we got so good at cooking that food at Saracen and perfecting it down to such a fine art that it would be a real shame not to serve them. So we've put a few of those ones on the menu, and a few new ones that I got to know more than others by doing pop-ups and things like that. So we're starting off with that, on a set menu, and the aim is that we can serve food that we've already practiced a lot, rather than serving new dishes at the beginning while we're sort of getting used to the space and the new people and each other and how we work with each other. And that's kind of, for the first 3 weeks, doing set menus. But then we're going to go, a la carte as well at Sunday lunches, and then sort of work backwards for Saturday, Friday lunches, etc. And I think that's when, by that sort of 1 month mark in the space, we'll have really figured out what we are capable of in the kitchen. And it's a great time of the year as well, beginning of spring. There's so many beautiful things coming in to season that I think, we can really start doing some cool new things with a focus on Armenian and Lebanese flavors, but also not closing any doors on food from, say, Iran or Georgia, Egypt or Syria, Palestine. We want to cook food from all these places that we love and that we've traveled to and been inspired by. But the focus will be on Lebanese and Armenian, because that's mine and Janane's backgrounds.
You mentioned it's inspired by your grandfather. Will we see any sort of food that has been passed down through your family sort of on the menu in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. Zareh was an amazing chef. He came here, and he wasn't a chef when he got here, but he loved food. He used to work, they were in Alexandria in the north of Egypt, and he used to work on the boats and the docks, shipping and, export and import. And he developed this taste for fancy foods, basically, that quite rare there. Like my grandmother was telling me stories about, you would hang out with like the captains of the ships and be allowed into like these kind of VIP parties where they'd have like champagne and caviar and this kind of stuff. So he had this exquisite palate for the finer things in life. And when he came here, he started cooking in fine dining French restaurants, and he was kind of just winging it. And Dad tells me stories. He would come home from work and the chefs would be like, do you know how to cook this sauce? And he's like, yeah. And come home and start like flicking through a cookbook and just, write down some notes and go in the next day and this kind of stuff. So we grew up, eating, these extravagant meals at his home that, he would put on. It was amazing, like 70s retro style, truffles suspended in aspic jelly, and this is like not stuff we cook at home, but we would see like him serving in like crayfish with like all these crazy garnishes and curly parsley and the zigzag lemons and all that kind of stuff. So we've got all these amazing photos that Grandma has kept of that, and I kind of want to bring about a little bit of that sort of retro style back. I think that would be fun. So we'll probably do some like special events like Father's Day Sunday is the first Sunday lunch we're going to do, and I'm going to get my father to come and cook with us, and we might have a bit of fun with the menu, that kind of thing. So yeah, that will definitely influence. We grew up eating Egyptian and Armenian foods at their home, especially on sort of more special occasions. So those foods felt very like exotic and special when we did eat them. So I was always very excited by them. And yeah, I guess, falling off of Janine and her family, and eating a lot more Lebanese food at their homes has been a huge influence as well as cooking for Greg Malouf, and being, incredibly inspired. That was kind of the turning point when I picked up one of his books and started seeing food that I'd grown up eating in such a beautiful, styled, finessed way. And, I've always been so inspired by Greg's beautiful touch with cooking this kind of food and unique, original style of serving it. So there's a huge influence of that here as well. And yeah, it's just really the space and the kitchen that I've always dreamed of having. Is I'm just brimming with so many ideas now. I'm going back through, photos of travel that I've been lucky to travel to so many countries in the Arab world and in the Mediterranean and North Africa and Armenia and Iran, and I want to bring all those things into the menu from time to time.
Amazing. I know you did a couple of soft launches already, but the doors are just about to open. After all of this build up and sort of work that you've put in, like how does it feel that you kind of, on the cusp of opening and welcoming in guests and with your own restaurant?
It feels it's a lot. Like it's overwhelming, but it feels incredible. We haven't really stopped to look at the space. I'm sitting here now and it's nice and quiet, and I'm just looking around, and there's so many things I'm like, I love that and I love this, and this one of my favorite tables and this kind of stuff. But we had vinyl up on the windows. We only took it down about 10 days ago, so we haven't actually really seen the space fully opened that much. So I'm still just getting my head around it. But it just feels just incredible, after everything we've been through. And, there were so many times where it was so hard that I was second guessing that, I've always wanted to be a chef and nothing other than being a chef. But, there were times where I was for the first time thinking, is this, am I losing passion, or is this what I, doing? And I know other chefs who have gone to that point, and I was always like, nah, that'll never be me. I never wanted to do anything else. But, I was for the first time in that kind of pace, and it was hard. And, we turned it around and we made it happen. And I'm just so happy and lucky and grateful that we did, because, I've never ever wanted to do anything else. I'd never know how to do anything else. And this is the only thing I've ever been really good at. And, I think we're going to make a lot of people really, really happy in this space. And that's, that's the most beautiful thing. And the most beautiful gift that I have, that I feel, I need to use that to make people happy and to serve genuine hospitality and beautiful food that's interesting and delicious, but also inspires people to travel to the places that we're inspired by. That's the biggest, gift that I think I can give is, we try our best, but nothing matches the food in places like Lebanon and Armenia that we've traveled to and inspired by. So I hope that it inspires people to travel over to that part of the world and fall in love with it like I have. It feels amazing to have this opportunity. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. We have everything that we need here to make people really happy.
Well, mate, I'm so excited and thrilled for you guys. I know you put in a lot of hard work, and you're at the amazing point now to get everyone in and to show them what you're all about. Let's not make it 4 years until we catch up again. Look forward to seeing where you take Zareh from here.
Thanks, Huck. I can't wait for you to visit and think for you and your family. Come and see us soon, mate.
I would love that. Thanks, Tom. This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.